Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi on this live show on Pakistan and looking at what is happening in the country, where is it heading, and what is going to happen in terms of the political scenario, defense, and so on and so forth. As you can see, I have with me Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar. Thank you, sir, for joining me for this live Sunday special. I think this is something that I'd like to do more often in terms of fixing a date Sunday, and then we can, discuss various issues with the audience that we can garner with us. So before we
Uh,
begin, sir, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks a lot, Adi, for inviting me over for this live show. It's a pleasure always to interact with the audience and get their views. That's one. And the second thing is you teed it off with Pakistan, which is in a, great pain and mess. A lot of interesting things happening. Every day is a drama unfolding. Uh, One needs to understand what's happening there. And let's start.
So, let's first understand politically what's happening in the country. So there's been a turmoil. I mean, as per se, Imran Khan's here, Imran Khan's not here. Day for yesterday, it was all Jai Jaikar to Imran Khan. Now it is all, the other way around. Political instability seems the name of the game, and things don't see sort of a there's no bright future, there's no light at the end of the tunnel that one can actually figure out, and not even from the Pakistani media. How do you see this political instability now?
Look, there is political instability in Pakistan as a result of this by-election, and it's a special instability. Let's understand this a little in detail. Uh, 3 days back, when the by-election results came out, Imran Khan got 15 out of the 20 seats. That was a magic figure. 14 was the magic figure. Everyone felt that the moment he got 14 seats, he could vie for the chief minister of Punjab and put his own government in place there. So they did that. But when it came to the assembly and the deputy speaker disqualified 10 of his supporters on some
Mm.
technicality, and over from the whole thing turned, and now it's gone to the court. The court has to decide on Monday. But then see the implications of this whole story. There is this uncertainty of Punjab, where it will go, right, in the longer run. Now, if the PTI government or PTA backed government comes into Punjab, the PMLN and PPP coalition government in the center will have only one state, that is Sindh. The rest of them will not be with them. So, right? So there's a problem. For PMLN, it is a bigger problem because they will be virtually not in power anywhere. And if that comes, Imran Khan will go to the streets again and ask for elections. And he'll actually paralyze the central government. If that happens, the central government collapses and it becomes a lame duck government. The IMF loan, which is on the verge of approval, might be taken off. That's economic chaos. But if you look at the political chaos, they'll be seen as on the back foot. Now, when all this is happening, the PMLN has formed a committee to inquire into the treasonable offences done by PTI when they were in power, including foreign funding and all that. So there's a clean head on. And that is one. So immediately what happened? The, the Pakistan rupee fell by about 18-20 rupees overnight. It's now, I think, trading at 238 rupees per dollar. The stock exchange fell. The Fitch converted, Pakistan from stable to negative. And Pakistan is now one of the 12 countries which is at the danger of default. I mean, my article "Wolf at the Door," I've said this is the first wolf at the door, default. Now, we'll talk a little about Imran Khan because he'll be the key. From what it appears, it's possible that he comes back into power. Now, when he comes back into power, we have to understand that it is the same Imran Khan who brought Pakistan to the current economic state. It was a hybrid experiment. He started with the military backing and he's now fallen out to the military completely. Okay. Now, Till Imran Khan was in power, PMLN were attacking his economic policies. Now he's been thrown out. He's taken on the victim's card and he's playing the victim. He talks of an imported government, independent struggle, and he talks disparagingly of the military as neutrals. Oh, he says जानवर neutral होते हैं, so that means the military is जानवर. Okay, so he's put everyone in the horns of a dilemma. What will be the future if he comes back to power with the military, without the military? So all that is in a thing. I mean, if you look, so in this kind of a political, you know, dissonance, and apparently it doesn't appear that PMLN will be able to garner support in case of a re-election. Apparently, if you go
Hmm.
by the current trends, we don't know what happens in Pakistan. In fact, Pakistan itself doesn't know what's happening to it. So, so it's politically this thing. Now the politics has repercussions on the economy. It has repercussions on dealing with TTP, which is a problem, and the military. So this is where it is as of at this point of time. Maybe by Monday, Tuesday, that is tomorrow, day after, we'll get some clarity when the Supreme Court gives a ruling on the thing of Pakistan, Punjab government. Whatever ruling it gives, chaos is sure.
I think that is the bottom line that you've mentioned, sir. Chaos is sure, and that is what kind of doesn't fail to amaze someone. And somebody asked a very simple question here, and I'll just put it up on the screen. It says, "Do they have the money to actually continue?" Which brings me to the second question, which I wanted to ask: what's up with the money factor?
See, it's well known that they have something like $6 to $9 billion of reserve, which is 1 month's capability to fund imports. They're talking big that we have fuel for 1 month. Okay, 1 month you have fuel. After that, what? For 1 month you have reserves of money. After that, what? Zero. Unless the IMF infuses liquidity. All the loans which they are now taking or they're being given, this has to be understood, is to finance old interest on loans. I mean, earlier Pakistan used to take loans to repay other loans. Now they're taking loans to pay interest on the previous loans, not even the interest. So they are in absolutely bad shape. Okay, now let's look at the fundamentals of their economy. Forget about the big things. Their inflation is 25%. Everyone knows it. Their rupee has gone fat. Look at the population. The population is now 220 million, set to go up to 300 million in about a decade. Now, the land cannot sustain this population. Pakistan, till 4 5 years back, was a agriculture surplus economy. It was a food exporter, net food exporter. Today, it imports ghee. Today, it imports sugar. It imports wheat. It imports 70% of its pulses and 86% of edible oils. That's the thing, and that all that costs money. All that costs foreign currency, which they don't have. Okay, so everything is going up. Now fuel prices have been jacked up, electricity prices have been jacked up. Now they have to get after tax subsidies and take them off and get people into the tax net, tax evaders. It's a big ask. Okay, so they don't have water. Pakistan is a water deficient nation. So their agriculture, which is 20% of their economy, is going to go even worse
Further. Hmm.
further. Okay, the way I look at it, there is no revival back out of this. It has, I think, entered a zone where default is a matter of time. That's what the economy is. And if this political chaos continues, IMF withdraws, the whole thing will go faster. If IMF doesn't withdraw, it'll take a little more. Like someone said, Imran Khan is the key to the game. He is the key. Whichever way he swings is going to make it bad. If he comes back into power, he'll only, as it is, he spoiled the economy before when for the 3 years he was in power as a hybrid regime. So that is how it is. Okay, so I don't see their economy reviving, come what they, and they're not getting aid from anyone.
Hmm.
Okay, no one is interested in Pakistan anymore. So that's where it
That
is.
is, yeah, that is the main thing, sir. The Pakistanis used to sell something before. Today they can't.
Yeah.
And you know, which brings me to the army, which is the key of the game. And this question also says, do you think the Pakistan is intentionally doing ISI versus army to keep this instability to help Imran? Do you think there is a method to this madness? That's a very interesting question, if
No,
I may.
it's not an interesting question, but let me tell you, there is no method in this madness. It's just madness. Okay. See, Pakistan army let is in its worst state I've ever seen in my life. Just to start, the Imran Khan is calling them neutrals and janwars. If in
Janwar.
an earlier time, someone had the guts to tell this to the Pakistan army, he would have been hung like Bhutto, or assassinated like his daughter, or just thrown out and the dictator would have come in. He would have been just plucked out. Nothing has happened. All this is talking and no one is speaking. There's a split in the army. There's a split in the army because a lot of people support Imran Khan, and that is evident in the editorials which are coming out in Pakistan media.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is why almost they're playing a neutral game. Today there's some article which says unless Imran Khan makes up with the army, he might not win the next election. We don't know. I don't know whether army has that capability anymore. Plus the fact if this government becomes a lame duck government, who becomes the chief? Who nominates the chief? There's no government, no nothing.
It's an auto mode, sir.
Then there's already infighting who will be the chief. We all know that, right? I mean, just think. For the past 2 months, they've been getting hit badly by TTP, and there's no response. There is no military response. They're talking to TTP, to a system which has been hurting them badly. So I don't know whether the military will be able to come in like before and save the nation. Okay. Now, if the military comes in and saves the nation and takes over the nation, the first thing everyone will do is the IMF will back out. No one will touch Pakistan, and their economic things will be even worse.
Yeah.
So where does it leave Pakistan and the military?
It's interesting, sir. Let's we're on the subject, so I'd like to just ask you this. Good evening, Mr. Darshan. Do you think that GSQ still has some hope left for the Imran Khan and PTI, or he will meet the same fate as Zulfikar Ali Bhutto? Now
Well, yeah,
he's 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 extending his reach a little bit.
I like I told you, the army doesn't seem to be on one page itself.
Yeah.
If the army is not on one page, they're not able to touch Imran Khan. Imran Khan has already threatened. You touch me, something happens to me, I will come out with something which he must be having.
Hmm.
Right? He's become so popular. Look, uh, the day these elections were won, a centerpiece in Dawn says Imran Khan is the new grassroots leader of Pakistan and he has arrived. How do you bump off a guy who's just arrived? I don't think the Pakistan army is tough enough to do it. Like I told you, the repercussions of all this. If Pakistan army does anything, it will be seen by the international community as something else. It's more chaos, and it will be descent into complete default and anarchy.
Those days were different, basically, right?
Yeah, those days. See, there's another thing we must all understand. At that time, everyone would agree to any dictator coming rather than a politician meddling around. Why?
Mhm.
At that time, Pakistan was a frontline state. It was a frontline state in dealing with the Gulf. It was a frontline state in dealing with China. It was a frontline state in dealing with Russia and Afghanistan. Right? It was a frontline state to deal with India at one point of time. It was a frontline state to deal with Iran at one point of time. Everyone said Pakistan has a strategic significance for the Western world and USA, the sole superpower of that time. There was a huge strategic connect between Pakistan and USA. That's broken after last year withdrawal of USA, and this man said all kinds of things. That is broken completely. Everyone knows in USA that these chaps have been two timing them. They'll not help one bit. And the relevance of Pakistan as a strategic centerpiece in this part of the world has vanished. So if that has vanished, the army can't peddle its importance. Okay. So there is a major problem for the army itself. In that Islamabad dialogues, the Mr. General Bajwa was saying, we need spares from USA, this, that, and Chinese are not that good. Or he said that they can't go anywhere. Their army will sit down very, very shortly if they don't have, if their Western equipment goes out
There's no
because of lack of spares. And the Chinese equipment worldwide, we all now know it is doubtful.
creating this.
So that's where it is. That's where the army is. That's where everything is.
How do you look at the international community looking at this entire situation, sir? Because as you say, army is not going to be acceptable. Till now, I think the West would have been happy to work with a dictator because one point contact यार ज़्यादा कोई उधर उधर का काम नहीं है सीधा बात करो. Now I don't think so. What is your
No
opinion, sir?
one, no one is interested in Pakistan from the West. No one will lift one little finger to help them. And the only one who can help them is the West. That is how the IMF, and the IMF has already tightened its screws. The FATF has tightened its screws. FATF said we'll take you off the blacklist, but it will after an inspection. That inspection is yet to come. My guess is they have already given certain conditions of that inspection that when we come we will see this, 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 this. That is why all these terrorists and all these buffoons are coming out of hiding. Every day some chap gets arrested and some chap gets exposed. Pakistan is in a hole, and one set of people who will not help them is the Western world. The second set of people who cannot help them is the Chinese. Chinese have their own problems, they are not prepared to help. Plus, the Chinese cannot stand losses. Those 2, 3 attacks on the Chinese, and after that, the Chinese have cold shouldered. Just yesterday, I read an article where they say all activity in the Gwadar port has come to a halt.
Or yes.
Okay. So that's it. That's the Western reaction.
Guys, all of you watching, please send in your questions. Pakistan is an interesting development, and before I, continue this conversation, request you all who are new to this channel, click the subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends. Of course, comment on it, not just here, but when it's on the channel as well. Give us a few more ideas or your thoughts if there is something that you guys want to listen to in the next Sunday's program. Also, there's a button called thanks. If you do want to support and donate to Dev Talks, please do use that button. So let's move a little forward. There's an interesting question that has come from Mr. Harsh. He says, what do you think about the elections before November? Is this whole thing a screen show? When I see this, the only thought that comes to me is that Shehbaz Sharif is like a mirage that is being put across. Would you agree to that, sir?
Look, it's a very interesting question. I don't think the army I don't think the army or PMLN and PPP want any elections till this term is over. If elections are held before November and Imran Khan gets back, there's a problem for the army. Because he will have to decide who the chief is. The army cannot decide who the chief is. Right? That's the first thing they're worried. The second thing is they'll do something or other. That election commissioner already said I cannot hold elections. He's already said that before November, next 6 months I can't hold. So they're following the whole thing. So the chances of elections before November are bleak. But the chances of this government surviving in saddle without any hiccups is also bleak. If either one happens, there are problems. If either one happens, it doesn't matter what happens, there's going to be anarchy. Political instability till November, okay, till November, uh, also means huge economic
Loss.
degradation. There's a report which says that 90 million Pakistanis are facing food insecurity. That's 40% of their population are food insecure and they're started going hungry. There's one video by this thing called CNA. If you see that, how people are suffering is shown very starkly out there. There's one lady who says, uh, ऐसे जीने से अच्छा है हम खुदकुशी कर लें.
With a lot of expletives, that too.
Expletives. You know that's the feeling. So things are very bad in Pakistan. We don't understand it because we today India is a food surplus nation. Everyone wants our wheat and rice. Even China wants your rice. Okay. And the government has taken steps to stabilize the situation, and you are getting it at reasonably good rates. Yeah, inflation everywhere. The effect of Russia, Ukraine is everywhere. We are also feeling it, but it is normal. We are still one of the better off economies. As per
Mhm.
IMF, we will be the fastest growing economy next year. No doubts. Okay, even at 6%, will be the fastest growing economy. Okay, 6, 7, whatever it is. But they are in a contraction zone. They don't have food. I mean, look, forget power games, politics, and all. They have come to fundamentals. खाना कल के दिन मिलेगा कि नहीं? That is the problem.
That is an interesting scenario, sir, because when you talk about khana kal milega ki nahi, that brings you to a point wherein uh, anarchy in
Yep.
Pakistan is on the teetering edge of various things, and we've seen these during this TLP protests, Imran Khan protests, which are happening right now, not being covered, but it's happening. It's pretty bad. So
See,
how do you
eh,
see that?
see, Imran Khan was called Taliban Khan. Let's not forget that. And he is on a good wicket with this TLP because TLP is a good vote bank. It might not win elections, but whoever it backs will win. Okay. And then the TTP is doing what it wants merrily. They want Sharia imposed in that part and all that. We know they're talking to TTP instead of getting after the terrorists. This is the same TTP which killed more than 200 army children in the APS
Yeah,
and various other things. Today, every second day, you find that, a few guys getting shot, security people. These guys have run over army camps.
286
Yeah.
army.
So now with those people, they're talking, बातचीत कर रहे हैं. Whatever deal they come with to the, and this is the army. Some time back, when the TTP had come to this level, these people had carried out operations and cleared them off that area. And the TTP has got Afghan Taliban backing. There's no, let's not have any doubts about it. And Afghan Taliban is what these chaps put in there. What this military has put into Afghanistan has now backing TTP against them. It serves them well.
Indeed, sir. Let's take up a question, sir. Okay. Says, what are the implications of the invitation to a third country to CPEC which passes through POK? What should be our next play? I think this is with regards to the news that came out yesterday that the Pakistanis are willing to kind of have foreign investments within their assets and stuff like that.
Who'll
What do
come
you?
there? Who'll come there? That's the first question. Let anyone come. Who'll come? Who'll come and put money in CPEC? I'm just doing, at this point of time, I'm doing an analysis on the BRI as a whole, and the CP is the flagship. CPEC is the flagship of BRI. I mean, just for your information, 40% or 50% of CPEC is power projects.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, these power projects are part of the big circular debt in Pakistan. I'll not go into circular debt. It is debt paying debt, debt to debt. The debt keeps spiraling up in
I
circles.
mean, yeah.
Why has this come up? because the government of Pakistan did a contract with the independent producers of CPEC. Okay, that they'll be paid a fixed sum apart from anything else. And after this payment of fixed sum to the independent power producers, who are basically Chinese, that means the Chinese are getting will get their money. There is still load shedding of 16 to 18 hours in rural Pakistan and about 10 to 12 hours in cities.
Even in
So,
Islamabad. Hmm.
and complete CPEC is a wreck. Who will invest in it? It's already so debt ridden. Which government? I mean, I don't know. I don't. Third country, which the third country will come. And one bombing here and there, and end of story.
Absolutely. Let's look at this one, sir. Seems like Pakistan has changed the game to confuse America and China. Internally, the support of Imran Khan is to support China. Pakistan knows they will get money anyhow from Muslim nations. I won't be
Well,
so sure, sir.
I
The
don't
Saudi,
think.
yeah.
I don't see. You have to read the byte lines of the I2U2 deal. What is
Hmm.
I2U2? Right? One part of U is UAE, which is the Muslim world. The sec, the money of the Muslim world gets funneled from Dubai
Hmm.
and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has not formally entered into this I2U2, but they don't support Pakistan anymore. Saudi Arabia wants to invest in India. These Dubai people want to invest in Kashmir. So who's going to invest in Pakistan? They're not interested. They're also worried. How far can they support this Pakistan? And today they don't have Pakistan doesn't have value. That's what I said. Everything comes from strategic value. Strategic value of Pakistan is zero. Now Imran Khan going to China is all hoax. If you see Imran Khan at one point of time, he used to curse China.
Hmm.
The Chinese wouldn't have forgotten it. Okay, today it's a matter of convenience. He'll curse USA and go towards China. If you think China will give anything, forget it. Look, what will happen if Imran Khan comes to power? The first thing he will do is he'll get all the populist measures in, he'll reduce all prices, IMF will get cancelled completely. They see already people are talking of the 23rd going back to IMF for the 23rd time. 22nd to chal raha hai abhi, 23rd time. If Imran Khan comes to power, the 23rd will never happen till he's in power. Then to they're totally basket cases.
I think the definition would need to be
If
changed, sir.
you if you hear what Imran Khan says in his speeches wherever, and I've been hearing it, and they're all on YouTube.
Hmm.
He says, "कितने देर तक मुल्क भिखारियों की तरह टोकरी लेके घूमे?" So what has he done? He's only made this tokri bigger. What will he do when he comes? He'll do it. If he doesn't come, also this tokri will become bigger. They're in a very bad shape.
Let's move forward, sir. When do you think China, the angel, when do you think the China angel will come into the picture? Because till now, China is sitting on the fence. It looks like they're hoping for a collapse of the civilian government.
Look, China is not an angel. China is in a big problem of its own, first and foremost. If China was an angel, they should have helped out Sri Lanka long back. Okay. Uh, Sri Lanka, in their scheme of things, was a great strategic asset for them, and they have not been able to do anything there. Why they have not been able to do anything in Sri Lanka is for two reasons. One, the Sri Lankans don't like Chinese. The leaders might have liked, Sri Lankans don't like. 6 months back, Aadi and I did a show in which they showed when Wang Yi was visiting Sri Lanka, people had to be barricaded out to ensure his safety. So this problem is not new. Second, Chinese economy is shrinking. They're in a major problem themselves. See, when Wuhan happened, their economy shrank by 6.3%. After Wuhan, today for the first time in the last quarter, their economy has expanded only by 0.4%. 0.4. Real figures, it would have actually shrunk. For the first time in so many years, you see people protesting against banks on the streets. People are not paying mortgages. And to scare people, people are lining up tanks. People are getting beaten up. People are being told if you don't pay the mortgages, your social credit rating will go down and you cannot get any loan anywhere.
They're turning
The
their COVID codes red suddenly.
red.
Mm.
So China is in a bad shape, and if property sector and infrastructure goes down in China, which is 30% of Chinese economy, they're in a problem. So this is one part. So that is why they are not able to enter Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is not the only one. They also had burned their boats in Angola. They have burned their boats in Zimbabwe. Not Zimbabwe, Zambia. So there's a problem in all their BRI investments and their these things are the in overall influence is going down. They cannot. They also know that they're not liked in Pakistan. A lot of people in Pakistan don't like China, which many of us don't understand. It's okay to China is also realizing that it's okay to go into a nation with the help of the leaders and capturing the elite. But what about dealing with people? So I don't think China is an angel. Okay, let's not have any this thing that China will come and rescue Pakistan. It cannot.
I think this answers this particular question also. What is China waiting for? So it kind of is
China,
self-explanatory. Let's move to the next one. So China and Pakistan invited again. This is a. I
yeah,
think
which
we've
I
spoken
don't
about.
know. Which is the third country they've invited? I mean, I have
If
not read
anybody
the.
knows, please put it on the chat so that we can also be this
But
thing. But I think
they can. You can call anyone, but who will come? No one will come. Who will put money in Pakistan is a $1 million question. I'd like to see that country.
did the ceasefire agreement with India help Pakistan with respect to TTP? Well, TTP/Afghanistan, I think that would be better. But what are your views on the ceasefire agreement and how did it help India?
Look, the
Interesting.
ceasefire agreement helped India and Pakistan to a large extent because you could maintain peace. And peace is good, and peace gives you time to do what you have to do. It also gives a message to the local guys here look, Pakistan wants peace because it was Pakistan's initiative. I mean, that's very clear. It was Pakistan who came forward asking for peace. So it also gave a message to our local, separatists or people who think they're separatists that look, don't count on Pakistan. So that is one part of the story. Did it help Pakistan? It helped Pakistan to concentrate on Afghanistan at that point of time. It was not TTP alone. Now, TTP is a later day variant. But by the time the TTP has assumed the proportion it has assumed, Pakistan army has weakened. Okay. So, and there's chaos. And I always maintained chaos in Pakistan is good. If Pakistan keeps internalizing, it will have less time for outside interference. An unstable and an internal looking Pakistan is best for India. Whether it is in one piece or 10 pieces is a matter of irrelevance.
Interesting. Mr. Nair asks, it appears that Imran Khan has created a split in the army. Okay. What is your take? Does this split reflect a wider split in the society? That's a large question, sir.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of sense in this question. And Imran Khan has, I wouldn't say engineered a split, he split the army due to his nature. You have to understand. I mean, let's give him the credit. He's a born leader. After all, he led the country to the World Cup victory in '92. It was only he's a good leader. But the problem is he's a good cricket player and a good cricket leader, not a national leader. Okay. So he's got the strength of a leader without the capacity of a leader. So he evokes large following in various sections of society and equally large sections of society deride him. They call him the dim and all that. So that has percolated down to the army also. After all, people are people. Okay. And people can't forget the fact of Imran Khan lifting up the World Cup. At that point of time, even I rooted for Pakistan to win the World Cup against England. All right. And so the point is that with his personality, his strong personality, he has imposed that personality on the army to split it. right? Now, that's where it is. Will he come to power? He might come to power. If he comes to power, will he sort out the army? That is a $1 million question. Will the army accept a secondary role in Pakistan? Till now, army is still calling the shots. It is still supporting PMLN. If this fellow wins, what will happen? There are reports, like I said, there's a article which says how the biggest challenge for Imran Khan will be to win the army over. How will he win the army over? I don't know. So it's all a nebulous and $1 million question. But the fundamental idea of that question was right.
I think there was a question which talks about the factor that it says both. Let me just quote. Yeah, both Imran Khan and Shehbaz Sharif would want their own army chief, and I think that hits the spot when you're talking about this.
I don't think Shahbaz Sharif wants his own army chief. The army wants their own chief. Look, let's put it. Imran might want his army chief. That is very clear, Faiz.
Mm.
But does the army want Faiz as the chief? We don't know. Now, whoever comes as the chief out of, there's a wrangling which is going on. Whoever comes as the chief, whom will he choose? We don't know.
It's a two-way circle.
We don't know. Okay, I cannot today say whoever comes will back Shahbaz Sharif, or the first thing he might do is bloody, if there's no elections held, nothing held, and by November you have a new chief who's not Faiz, he might just take over and give a thing to dissolve this assembly and go in for new elections, and he will then manipulate the elections and get someone to win, provided he can.
Provided that's a big show, sir.
So there is time for all that.
Absolutely, sir. What do you think about Punjab? When will this fault line turn on the Pakistani army? That's again interesting. So Punjab is turning out to be quite a chaos in the past couple of days.
See, the point is Punjab is very weak today. Okay, there is that fault line between Sindh and Punjab. Unless Sindh and Punjab are at problem, nothing can happen in Pakistan. That doesn't seem to be there. No, look, this is connected with something else. Everyone keeps asking, will Pakistan disintegrate and all that? There's no movement for disintegration. There's no leadership for disintegration. There is no territorial conflict for disintegration as a basis. Or there's no territorial conflict which can be a basis for disintegration. If you look at the American Civil War, it was a war between the North and the South.
You don't see a struggle.
If you saw Syria, it was between the government and the rebel forces. I'm just taking two extreme examples.
Yeah.
That is not there in this. The only way there is a movement which wants to secede or get autonomy or whatever you call it from Pakistan is the TTP. Along astride areas, the Pashtun areas of Durand Line. And that they're being supported by the Afghan Taliban. And this is an old problem because no Pashtun respects the Durand Line. They want the entire Pashtun area to be one, and preferably they will go today with Afghanistan because TTP is a Pashtun dominated setup. That's my take.
Let's move on, sir. It talks about how long does the TTP, I think.
I think they're already in control. I think at this point of time, they're already in control. And there is very little the Pakistan army or the government is able to do about it. Look, that's what, yesterday there was an article by Pervez Hoodboy. He says, why are you talking to the TTP? They killed your people. They're killing your people. They talk something and do something else. They're very clearly saying whatever the deal with TTP means ceding sovereignty of the nation to the TTP and the Pashtun area, whatever comes out of it. The moment that happens, there'll be repercussions in the rest of Pakistan. They can't do that. And just imagine who's heading the talks with TTP? Faiz. General Faiz. Okay, he's supposed to be their friend, and they are showing two fingers to him. But that area cannot, uh, you know, exist on its own. It has to be either part of Afghanistan or Pakistan.
For Pakistan. Correct. There
Look,
has to be.
somewhere someone had said um, Pakistan was seeking strategic depth into Afghanistan as their backyard. I think the TTP, no, not the TTP, the Afghan Taliban are now seeking strategic depth into Pakistan with the TTP controlled areas as their front yard. It's the other way around.
I think. I think it
Yeah,
acknowledges your point about strategic importance for the West
yeah,
and the depth being lost. So that's
I
interesting.
agree. Yeah.
China and Afghanistan would strategically be a bad idea for India. China can ask for sending army in Pakistan for their projects. Don't you think they can send army in Afghanistan if talks
See,
happen?
uh, sometime back I read a couple of articles. Why Chinese guys written why China should not enter Afghanistan. See, when the Americans left Afghanistan, there was a lot of talk China will come and replace them, and through Pakistan, they'll dig up Afghanistan. All the iron ore will come out, and whatever minerals will come out, and they'll make $10 billion or 20 billion or $100 billion or all that nonsense. अभी तक क्या आया है वहां से? Not a bloody single seed of poppy has come towards China. China has not entered anything. And who thinks that Chinese army is in Pakistan or Afghanistan? No way. China will never enter. Okay, and this is something which very one veteran brought home to me. He says China has always stepped back from conflict. It will step into conflict when it feels it's reasonably assured of victory. The moment it senses defeat, it steps back. And he's quoted the conflict between Russia and China for this long back when not Russia, USSR and China.
69.
China made some aggressive moves. They were hit along the Usuri River and they withdrew. Then they went into Vietnam to teach Vietnam a lesson. They were taught a lesson and they withdrew very fast. Okay. Then, of course, they tried 67 against us in Natula and got hit. Now they've tried against us in Eastern Ladakh and they've gone back. Holding on to Depsang is face saving. Okay. Wherever they have made aggressive moves, they've had to fall back. The only place where they've succeeded is in South China Sea in that island because there was no one there.
Parasitism.
So if you think that China is going to go and send its army into Pakistan and all, forget. The moment China sends its army, then the BLA and the TTP have fantastic targets. They'll be popped off next day.
I think USA will be sitting there with bated
Yeah,
breath.
everyone will be happy. So I don't think China will make that cardinal sin.
If everything collapses in Pakistan, what should India do about their nuclear weapons?
Well, that's a very interesting question. We do nothing.
Sell
What
them in
can
the
you do?
open.
You can do nothing. Right? I'll tell you why. And we need not do anything. Everyone thinks that, the weapons are at risk. If Pakistan collapses, it will go into some terrorist hands and all that. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen for only one reason. The nuclear weapons are under the custody of the Pakistan army, and the Pakistan army will hold on to these weapons to stay in power or to stay relevant in the society. It is the last custodian of Pakistan's defense. It is the self-appointed guarantor of Pakistan's sovereignty, right? So, Pakistan Army is a Janus face. On one side, it is a destroyer of Pakistan. On the other side, it's the savior of Pakistan. So, it is in the savior phase that it has to hold on to nuclear weapons very tightly. It will hold. That's a playing card. Tomorrow, if Pakistan collapses and anarchy sets in, and there's no economy, no nothing, this becomes a card to play with the international community. It's a different
The
thing that
card
the
for you
international.
to
economically to revive Pakistan, there might be a deal to give up the nuclear weapons. That's a separate story, like it happened with Ukraine in '94, and I
94.
hope it goes that way. I think, but that blackmail will stop. You do a one-time payment to Pakistan and get out, and then Pakistan becomes a normal country.
Talking about that, sir, somebody asked what's the timeline for the imminent collapse of Pakistan. I think it's in the it's in the line that you're talking about. I'd like to add to this question, sir. Collapse one. Can the situation reach to a point where you're saying that the army basically is now negotiating with those weapons in their hand and saying, okay, this is what we've got, save us, or
Yeah, see, to get to that point, it could be anything between 3 months to a year,
really?
right? Yeah, 3 months to a year. See, look, it all depends on the economy. Just remember, Sri Lanka is a population of 22 million. Okay, and 6 months back, Sri Lanka was 3 to 6 months back. Sri Lanka was in the same state as where Pakistan is today. Pakistan is 10 times its size. Okay, in terms of population, it's got a more lethal population, more volatile population.
Yeah.
So from here, see, a lot depends on the political chaos. If the political chaos is more, then the chances of disintegration are farther. I again go back to what Imran Khan made a statement. He said, "Look, if things go bad and the economy goes bad, Pakistan will be divided into three. We will be forced to give up our nuclear weapons, and uh, the army will be almost disbanded or something to that effect." He had said this, and there was a
Seems to
lot
be
of hue and cry. There was a lot of hue and cry in Pakistan, but there's a fundamental truth of what he said.
yeah. I, okay, I'm sorry, this question is not coming up. It says, with all the chaos, where do you think India-Pakistan relations stand today? And continued, he says that China won't make the military mistake of engaging the graveyard of empires. I think he picks up from what you were talking about
Yeah,
Afghanistan.
I don't think China will come in. And
India-Pak.
as far as India Pak is concerned, it will go on like this. Why- Look, we have come to a stage where we started looking beyond Pakistan. We are not interested in what's happening. We are not helping them out. We don't intend to help them out. So why should we bother? But let me flip the question, flip the scenario. Okay, I'll flip the thing and I'll put a thought, and I'd like a reaction from people who are watching. If Pakistan has to survive, it has to mend fences with India. And this is not my view. This is a view of at least half a dozen people who have written about uh, mending fences with India and why they have to. The moment that happens, they see a they see a resolution in their water woes. They see trade today. A lot of items from India go to Dubai, and from Dubai they go to Pakistan. They'll get it first hand cheaper. They have somewhere to export their surpluses, seasonal surpluses. They can give it to India, especially the rice and wheat. Okay, in this season it is surplus. Maybe next season they get it back. That kind of a thing. So trade with India makes a lot of sense. And today, if they have to trade with India, uh, the costs are very simple. There's a huge political cost. One author has said you can say goodbye to Kashmiris, wish them all the best in India, and let's do. Otherwise, Pakistan won't survive.
This person who wishes to remain an anonymous group of some kind, he says India Park agreed, sir, nowhere for them to go.
Yeah, I agree with them. There's very little room left for Pakistan to head anywhere.
Let's
Right?
look at the last couple of questions before we kind of sign off. We've already touching about 47, 48 minutes.
Yeah.
What is your view on why Faiz Hamid is dealing with the Taliban? What is he getting out of this agreement? We spoke about one aspect of it. This guy is asking for the other aspect. And why can't Pakistani army suppress or eliminate that threat? They did
See,
try, sir.
no, Faiz Ahmad is dealing with Taliban and TTP because he was dealing with them earlier also.
Hmm.
I mean that's the professional aspect of the Pakistan army. They know they after all Faiz was the one who went to deal with Taliban in Afghanistan also as ISI chief. So they're using him. Okay. So that on that there's no this thing. What is the second question which was asked?
Uh,
The
why?
second part of the
One, I'll just pull it up. Yeah, there it is. Why can't
why
the
can't
Pakistani
yeah
suppress or
Pakistan
eliminate?
that's what I keep saying. Why can't they do it? They're weak. Today, Pakistan army is weak. They cannot do it. They go and they suffer losses. Their image will suffer, and they cannot then control the politics. One. Number two, it costs to go there. If they go there and get entangled with the TTP and they don't have finances. See, earlier when Pakistan carried out this operation against TTP, America was in Afghanistan and they were bankrolling Pakistan. Operations cost money, which they don't have. As simple as that. That is why I say Pakistan army is weak.
I think the last question for the day, sir. What should India do if refugees start coming to India? It's a big security challenge. I think that's very relevant, sir.
I mean, I look flip it. I don't think it's relevant because
Okay,
refugees won't come to India. India will not take them on. The border fence is a very formidable obstacle for refugees,
fair enough. Hmm.
right? It will not happen, and those large parts of the border, especially along Sindh and right up to that Ganganagar area,
Hmm.
it's a desert the other side. They can't stream across. They have to come through Punjab, and that's a narrow thing where we riverine area for refugees to come. There has to be lines of communication, which are all closed. Unless there is a international pressure for us to take refugees, and there's an international thing, then we have to internationalize the situation. We should ask for a UN force to go into Pakistan and all that. All that is on the card. Someday it might happen. That's a different story, right? But I don't think refugees coming to India is a scenario I visualize. I don't think India should accept them also.
That too, sir. But I'd like to just wrap up this discussion with a little bit of a riddle, if you don't mind, sir. You've got
Yep.
three situations in Pakistan. One is a Imran Khan guided political situation. You've got the army, who's, as Imran Khan calls them, neutrals, trying to kind of. I look at them as trying to find their place right now. They're not in the place that they would like to be, and they're not able to get to the place that they would want to be. Third is the international community, which is, of course, IMF and this and that, and China. To that, I think is a little off the picture right now. But what matters is the West. Now they are look. These three are the variables that are going to play a game, which is, in a sense, intangible within Pakistan, sir. Because the movements that we've seen of the people within Pakistan is not something which is can be gauged to any extent. How do these entities that I've spoken about actually plan their activities? Because what we saw in the past 3 days in terms of the protest was crazy. It was far beyond that whole tamasha that he did with the long march. How do
Look,
these entities look at this and plan?
there's a fourth angle. TTP, don't forget it.
I thought I'd bunch that in with the army, but
No, no,
yeah,
no. That
I don't know.
is there. You must treat that as a separate entity because that concerns a huge chunk of territory of Pakistan.
Correct.
TTP and the Baluch problem that will not go away. Okay. Look, these are all these fellows, the politics, the military, the West, and TTP, and if you put a fifth thing, it's the spigot. It is the economy. They're all things in motion. How they're going to play out will dictate which way Pakistan will go. Okay, so this we'll have to wait and see. I don't have an answer for it. Everyone
Because
wants to get into the best position, But I don't see which is the best position. I can't prescribe the best position. And the entire thing will ultimately depend on how the people react. Tomorrow, if the people go hungry, they'll react differently. If the people have food in their stomach and fuel in their scooters, and they can go to a workplace, it'll come out differently.
Which brings me to the last statement and just a closing comment from you on this, sir. What we saw in Sri Lanka was fair enough, peaceful to a large extent. There was no deaths. I think one person died in the entire gambit that took place. Uh, Pakistan, on the other hand, is a Kalashnikov cultured country. Where do you see something like that exploding if the game comes to what you're talking about, sir?
Uh, which way it'll swing will depend on in the next 4 5 days. If the court rules against Imran Khan's, party to be in power in Punjab, you might see violence spiking through PTI. If Imran Khan gets into power, or rather his party gets into power in Punjab, then you will see chaos coming in to push the PMLN government out and make it a lame duck government. That might not be violent, but it will be chaos, all right. A lot of jalsas and all that. So all that depends, and from there, where it will go, we don't know. It's just like a snooker ball. Yeah, you hit one, you don't know where the rest will go. But immediate thing about chaos will uh, we will we should talk about it in a couple of days. We'll know when.
Someone on my locals page says, you guys need to do this again next Sunday so that you can analyze
Yeah, well, let's see.
and review this particular thing. Thank you for the comment. And there's another one which has come on the locals page which says that you and General Shankar are more, are a lot more interesting when you guys talk about China. Stick with that. Pakistan is always a slideshow for you guys. Okay,
No,
don't
we
sit
don't
there.
mind. We actually we were supposed to do China, and we are so
Yes.
maybe next Sunday we'll do China.
Yeah. But this was an interesting comment. I mean,
Okay,
you
yeah,
can,
we'll no, we'll do that.
yeah. Thank you so much for that. Sir, thanks so much for all the people that have joined us and some interesting questions that came through. I've also opened up, as I said, I've opened up a locals page as well, which I will share within this thing. uh, Trying to build up a community within that particular area so that we can get like-minded people together talking about various different subjects. Thanks so much once again for joining. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment on it. It's not too late. Ask your questions, ask your queries, put your thoughts through. Pakistan is a relatively interesting situation. Honestly, when I started talking about Pakistan with General Shankar about a year ago, I never thought that we would be actually having a discussion of a Pakistani collapse. Uh, and with the timeline that we're talking about, 4, 5, 6 days, it was always haan kabhi hoga. It was not something that we found. Anyways, do donate to the channel by clicking thanks. It's okay. There's another request that has come from Mr. Dimpu, which is please do a session on China next weekend. This come on YouTube. So
I will do that.
yeah, we'll do that. Thank you so much for the comments. Till next time, for another subject, of course, China and a lot more that we are covering. Sir talked about the Chinese economy in the middle. We're trying to figure out how to fix in a discussion on a deeper analysis of that. We've done a video already. Check it out if you've not. Till then, sir, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Thank you.